Well, with Emmy nominations coming up in just a few days, Daniel Montgomery and I want to give you our thoughts on the comedy races. We did drama already, so if you're wanting those, just click on the an appropriate link, and you'll get over into our drama slugfest from a couple of days ago. But Daniel, let's look at comedy series first. I think we had a lot more locks, true locks, in drama series than we do comedies. When I say lock, somebody sent me an email after our other slugfest saying, you know what? Why didn't you say this was a lock or that was a lock in acting? And I think actress was one where I only said, you know, like Robin Wright was there. When I say lock, I mean 100% chance of getting nominated, zero. So if people are kind of having just a little bit of question mark, I can't call them a lock. But I would say my locks are Veep, Modern Family, obviously. I hesitate to call Transparent. Anytime something's a first year show, you hate to say that's a lock. I mean, it didn't get a SAG Ensemble nomination, for example, which it should have. So anyway, that's really my only two locks here. What do you think?
I disagree with you slightly. I'm a little bit more confident than you are about, let's say, the top five or six. But that's not because they're all so incredibly strong, but because in this comedy field, they're so, like, I'm looking at my number 6 and 7 slot and trying to figure out, well, if not them, then what else? And so I think, especially the returning shows, I think they're just bound to get in by default. I'd be surprised not to see my top five get in there. I have a Veep, Modern Family. Those are locks. I agree. Those are solid, clear locks. Silicon Valley, I'd say, is close to a lock. Big Bang Theory and Louis, I'd say under normal circumstances, they might be vulnerable, but I just don't see what comes in to replace them this year. So I'm fairly confident they'll be back. And then I start to get a little iffy. I've got Transparent in my number 6 slot, and 7, I go back and forth every day.
I've got Transparent all the way up at 3 and might consider moving it up more depending on which nominations it gets. I think it may ride, so many of the news stories of the past few months. You did a great article recently about the only show that defeated Frasier after 5 straight wins was a dramedy, Ally McBeal, something totally different than Frasier. So maybe a Transparent wins there. I'm not as sold on Big Bang Theory. When something gets to its 8th season, you typically see a lot of fall off by that point on any show, even the big shows over the course of history. I don't have Louis predicted right now. I may move it back in. This season aired, and I heard barely a whisper about it. It was just like it barely made a register. I've got the ones you said. I do think Silicon Valley is safe. I wouldn't say 100%, but that directing and writing nomination last year, I think, really told a story. I've got Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt in. I just think the Tina Fey factor alone helps it a lot, and it's one of the true few comedies that got very good reviews. And I got one of your favorites in 7th. This time of year, or at least up until maybe next Wednesday, I move things around. I move things in and out quite often. I've got Blackish in right now. I think it could really make a push there.
Blackish is a show that I've had in my top 7, like in that number 7 slot here and there. I recently moved it out for Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Again, it's like you say, with first year shows, it's hard to know. It's a young main character. It doesn't have the snob appeal of taking place in the TV industry like 30 Rock had, but it has, the snob appeal of Tina Fey, which might be plenty enough for this show to get in. So it's really, really hard to say with that. I'm a little more confident about Transparent getting in, just because we know Jeffrey Tambor is such a strong contender for comedy actor. We know they're going to be watching it because Amazon sent them the whole season.
I think actually Kimmy Schmidt benefits from the fact that Orange is forced to move over to drama, because I know they've only been in the Emmy game for a short while, but it would just seem strange for Netflix to kind of lose their slot, so to speak. So I think that's why, another reason why I feel like it gets in there. Is there any other show you're thinking about? I had The Comedians forever. That was one of my favorite new shows, but I just don't. It never really latched on like I thought it would. I would be thrilled if it got in there. The other theory that I've got, speaking of Big Bang Theory, Chuck Lorre always seems to have a show in there. What if they move Big Bang out for Mom? It just got a Critics' Choice Award nomination. We know Allison Janney's going to be a threat to win again. a fresher, newer show like that, and also from the same producer, do you think that's a possibility?
For a seventh slot, yes. I'd be more confident if it did a little better last year, because other than Allison Janney, I think Allison Janney was the only nominee for the show last year, and we were expecting, maybe Anna Faris, maybe Octavia Spencer for guest. It just really underperformed across the board. So I'm not sure if they really like the show or if they just really like Allison Janney. So I'm
Right,
not
right.
confident about that one.
Well, let's talk about, and you kicked this one off. Let's talk about comedy actress. This is just as fun a category to me as drama actress is.
Yeah.
So many possibilities. Got a lot of ladies in there that have been there a while. You've got others, trying to jump in. What do you think?
This is a category. I mean, you mentioned when we talked about drama actress, there was like maybe 100% lock, Robin Wright, and then we had like Taraji P Henson and Viola Davis, we were reasonably comfortable would get nominated. In this category, I don't even have anyone else I'm reasonably comfortable getting nominated. There's only one lock in this category for the nomination, and that's Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I can see anyone else on my list from number 2 to number 6 getting in or not getting in. It's going to be that. It could be that kind of a year. And right now I've got Edie Falco and Amy Poehler returning. I think those are the only returning names I have on my list, unless you count Lisa Kudrow, who was nominated for the comeback last time, and I recently moved her on my list. And then I have Amy Schumer. I think the year she's having and the way she's peaked at exactly the right time is going to be too big to ignore. And then my number 6 slot, I've got Ellie Kemper in there. But there are like 4 or 5 maybe other women who I think, you make a case for them, they could get in too.
We're pretty close. I think we're a couple off. I do have Julia, of course, in first. Although I think Amy Schumer could threaten to win, actually. I mean, she's going to be having a comedy movie out with Judd Apatow just exactly at the right moment. If she gets in, right as they're voting, right as they're watching episodes, and that thing I think is going to be the comedy hit of the summer. I do have Edie Falco in, last season. She's never failed to get a nomination for this show. And I've got Ellie Kemper. I don't know that that's a lock, but I hope she does get in, and she is Kimmy Schmidt. I've got Amy Poehler, but I'm not positive. I think, the show aired so long ago. They've never liked that show all that much other than her. So I think she could fall out, but I've got her in. I've got Lily Tomlin in. I know that show really crashed in many ways in terms of visibility. It just kind of came and went so fast, which is the danger when you do these instant releases. But she's an Academy board member. She's on the board of governors, just like Catherine Houston was. Catherine Houston passed away, and Lily Tomlin actually took her place. And Catherine would get in almost every year for Desperate Housewives. Lily just won last year the Voiceover Performance Award. So I just think she's one of those that's just always, and she's got a film out too that's getting really positive reviews. I think for a long time I also had Jane Fonda, and I think if one of the two gets in, it's going to be Lily Tomlin.
Yeah, the Grace and Frankie women are so hard for me to figure out this year, because there are so many women who could get in just because we know voters will be watching their shows and or like them in general. So we might not see the name check be enough to get both of them in there. I think you're like, it's weird. I can see them both getting in. I can see them. I'm currently predicting neither of them to get in, but I can see any of those circumstances. If one or both of them lines up in that race, I really won't be surprised.
A couple of people we didn't mention that are, Gina Rodriguez has been campaigning very hard. She just won the Globe. I could see her getting in, although they've never liked the CW at all. I think those kinds of issues are changing because, if they're willing to accept online streamers and practically every network under the sun, I don't think that's an issue other than just getting your DVD watched, getting your screener watched. You have Lisa Kudrow in. We mentioned Jane Fonda. Melissa McCarthy was a nominee last year. If I'm right about, I'm not saying that I'm predicting Mom on comedy series, but if it were to get in, I could see an Anna Faris, jumping in with it. And then Lena Dunham, we didn't even mention her, and she's been up before. So it's a strong, strong group.
Yeah, Lena Dunham hasn't missed, and yet she's down in number 12th on our racetrack odds. That's how crowded this category is. How many, especially new women and returning, if you count Lisa Kudrow from the show coming back from 10 years ago. it's such a crowded field. That's one, I mean, Gina Rodriguez, if I had my choice, she'd win. But, even when they've embraced all these other shows and all these other networks, they've just never gone for the CW or before that, the WB, UPN. At this point, I'm not going to predict anyone from those shows. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, I can't really predict her because it's just, they have such an aversion they think that's just kid stuff for some reason.
Yeah, I agree. Now, as crowded as comedy actress is, comedy actors just like drama actors. Not that we don't like the guys, but it just feels like for 2 or 3 years, it's been a lot of filler in terms of, hey, congratulations, but there's no way you're going to win kind of nominees. And we've got some of those returning again this year. In fact, I think all six people are eligible from last year. No, Ricky Gervais is over in the movie category. So there is one open slot, but that's Jeffrey Tambor. He's got the open slot. Then it comes down to, do they kick out some people to make room for some other people? And tell us who you've got other than Tambor and Parsons.
I've got Tambor and Parsons. I've got Louis C.K. coming back in. I've got William H. Macy coming back in, sort of by default. You're right that Louis had, sort of a season without any buzz this year. I've got Billy Crystal coming in on name recognition. I think if this category were as strong as comedy actress and the comedians not having performed as well as expected, he'd be in trouble. But here, I think he'll probably slip in. It's just a matter of, do they kick out Matt LeBlanc? Do they kick out Don Cheadle, or do they kick out both? I think they might kick out both. Right now, I'm predicting Matt LeBlanc, but I'm strongly considering switching him out for either Thomas Middleditch or Anthony Anderson, or even maybe Will Forte.
Well, we've got the same six, which is scary. I do think they watch episodes. We've seen them, that get into writing, and then last year into directing. I don't think they actually watch House of Lies. I just think they like Don Cheadle. It's one of those, I bet he's good in that kind of check marks. And I don't think they watch it. So I think he would be the easiest to go. Everybody you mentioned, I think, is possible. Even in Andy Samberg, who we all thought was getting in last year, with him hosting the show, I could see that, being a nomination. The one thing in the way back reaches of my mind, I would never dare predict it, but Jim Parsons having won 4 might be one of those shocking omissions for 2 reasons. One is some people would just say, I'm sick of him winning, I'm not even going to nominate him. And other people, we saw this with Juliana Margulies 2 years ago, sometimes if there's a bunch of people you're considering, you're thinking, well, other people will mark Jim Parsons, I'll make room for the 6 that I want to mark. It happens, and I don't think it's going to happen. If it was comedy actress full, I think it could even more, but it's a possibility. I want somebody, if that happens, I want somebody to pull up this video.
Yeah, and it's definitely possible. I mean, it's not just Juliana Margulies. We saw that happen in the supporting category, which we'll talk about soon, with Eric Stonestreet. The year after he won his 2nd Emmy for Modern Family, they kicked him out, and they haven't brought him back in yet. So it's one of those things. We don't know if he just snuck into the Best Actor race and then won with his episode submission, or if he's really still one of their top favorites.
Yeah, that's right. You kick off supporting actress.
Well, comedy supporting actress, it's especially the supporting categories, I'm always nervous about making any changes. So I always try and predict who was nominated last year and then sort of make adjustments for who's not eligible this year and who might reasonably kick them out. I think I've got except for one, I've got a static lineup. I've got Allison Janney, I've got Anna Klumsky for Veep, Julie Bowen for Modern Family, Kate McKinnon coming back for SNL, Mayim Bialik for The Big Bang Theory, and then the only new nominee I'm predicting at the moment is Judith Light for Transparent.
Not only do we have the same 6, but we have the same order. And I think Anna Klumsky is coming on strong. If episodes really do matter anymore, she's got a really good one, and but Allison Janney does too, so that's going to be interesting. Allison Janney is one of those type of winners. And it happens at the Oscars, too, with somebody like Christoph Waltz. Their win was so, I wouldn't say under the radar, but not so publicized and not so in your face that people forget they've won before, or in Allison's case, that they've won so many. And that's one reason they kind of keep winning. If you're really aggressively in your face with a win, not that they do anything, but just like all over the media and all over, just I think sometimes that does hurt you in winning in winning more. Um, but Allison Janney's not like that, and she's one of the most beloved actresses really in the industry. So I'm not sure if they're aware she's won as many as she have. I got your 6, but I could see a Jane Krakowski or a Carol Kane. Carol Kane used to dominate during the Taxi years. Of course, that was 35 years ago. A Merritt Weaver could come back. A Jane Lynch could come back. Um, Carrie Brownstein is one I'm really thinking about. She could come in like Fred Armisen last year. I mean, it's really just the two of them on Portlandia. So if they like Fred a lot, maybe they like Carrie too. And I wouldn't totally write off Sofia Vergara. I was, I think we're all a little stunned last year when she was snubbed.
I think I might have actually been. I think I might have gone out on a limb and I don't know if I predicted that lineup right, but I think I might have actually predicted the Vergara snub after seeing things like Stone Street go and O'Neill going on the men's side. But yeah, I wouldn't even count out also another Saturday Night Live woman getting in, because we saw when they had like Kristen Wiig and Amy Poehler a couple times both getting in. I think Cecily Strong could get in, and Adie Bryant. We could see potentially another nominee for SNL, or we could see neither of them, to be honest, because there are a lot of people bubbling under the radar who are very plausible, like you mentioned.
Now, supporting actor, if that Modern Family, every year they've dipped in acting nominations except the second year. So, I think Ty and Julie are safe, but does that mean Jesse's now gone? Does it continue to erode? I've got him getting in, but I'm not positive. I've also got, of course, Ty getting in. I got Tony Hale, the previous year's winner. I've got Andre Brower. That's my returning people. But then I've got T.J. Miller off of a Critics' Choice win. I think he's probably the most over-the-top standout kind of performer on Silicon Valley. And if it does continue to go up in nominations, I think he would come along before Thomas Middleditch, although they both could get in. And I've got Titus Burgess. That's actually my winner right now. If he makes this field, he's going to wipe them clean. He's got the episode.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things where really getting the nomination is the hardest part, because he has a couple of episodes that I could see him just, like you said, wiping the floor with these candidates. And I've got him in 5th place though. I'm not as confident he'll get in. I'm not. I'm sort of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt's making me nervous in a lot of categories. I want to see it recognized, but it could as easily get everything or nothing. It's that kind of a show this year. And I've got most of last year's returning. I've got Tony Hale in my number 1 slot because just like Anna Klumsky, he has the episode this year, better than the one he won with a couple of years ago. And I've got Burrell and Ferguson in, and I've got Brower coming back. And I'm nervous about Fred Armisen. I've got him coming back, but I'm not confident about that at the moment. It would be interesting, though, to see. I mean, Ty Burrell has won twice, so we know they love him. But, we thought they loved Eric Stone Street, too. So it would be interesting if the Modern Family gets in, but it's actually Burrell who is dropped and Tyler Ferguson who stays in. That would be such a bittersweet moment for Ferguson. Like, he keeps getting in, but he can't win.
I don't know that would happen with Ty Burrell. I think he's one of the more he's an Allison Janney type, I think, at this point, and just in terms of everybody seems to love him. I would really be shocked if Ty was removed and say Jesse stayed. I pulled Fred Armisen out just the other day. I think that's who I put T.J. Miller in for. I don't know. Part of me, I love Fred himself. I love Carrie. Part of me really wants them to be hurt by the fact that they stayed in supporting. That was really, maybe strategically, I understand their reasoning, especially his, thinking, well, I got in supporting last year. I don't want to ruin things. But, you're the only 2 people on your show. Go lead, please.
Especially in his case, it's kind of absurd to think that he wants to stick. I mean, he got nominated last year, so it's proven that they like him. But I mean, he's in the deep end of the pool in comedy supporting actor. There's so much more potential wiggle room for comedy actor, especially because he is absolutely a lead on that show.
I think he would have gotten into lead easier than supporting, but he could get in here. Hugh Laurie's an X Factor. We know how much they liked him on House, although they never gave him the award. There's so many supporting actors on Veep, though. I just don't know. I don't think he came off like I thought he would when we heard he was announced as a cast member. I don't think he just like, overwhelmed the show with that character. Eric could come back. I don't think Ed O'Neill comes back. Then you got Sam Waterston and Martin Sheen, both Emmy favorites from the past. Both have won before, although for things you wouldn't expect. And then, we've been talking for months about, could the film career of Chris Pratt put him in?
That's very possible. I mean, this is, I wrote an article about this one too. It's like this is the last chance for the Emmys to reward him, and not just to say, "Oh, we liked you on Parks and Recreation," but this is a guy who became a movie star because he was a TV star. I mean, he wouldn't have gotten Guardians, and he wouldn't have been noticed for Jurassic World if he hadn't, first been Andy Dwyer. So they can really put a stamp on him and say, "This is our guy." We're sort of claiming him as our own, going into his illustrious movie career, because this is his last. He's got a movie career coming up. He's not doing TV.
He's not coming back to TV until he's like in his 60s.
And interesting, I think that, not as big a career, but I think Adam Driver is also a similar factor. I think he could stick around because he also has this very, this up and coming movie career, more on the indie side. But I could see them giving him another nod too.
Yeah, he's way down in our predictions, and I haven't predicted him either year, and he's gotten in both years. So the two things about both of those guys, though, are the same thing. Adam Girls continues to fall in terms of Emmy nominations, and if Chris Pratt was on an Emmy kind of a favorite show, just he hadn't gotten in before, I think that would serve him better than being on a show that has shockingly, really, over at the course of its run, gotten so little love from Emmy voters.
And it's so odd. I mean, it's so much, Parks and Rec is so much in the same kind of ballpark as The Office, which won and got multiple nominations, and 30 Rock, which won Comedy Series 3 years in a row. And yet, for some reason, this show they just haven't really latched onto at all.
A lot of likable people. All of their cast members, to a person, are doing films and doing other projects, and it has always surprised me how little. Nick Offerman was a breakout, after the first season, and his character became just an icon, and he does tons of commercials, and I'm just very surprised he never latched on.
Yeah, that's a textbook supporting comedy actor nominee. Perennially, he should have been over the years. We should be sick of him by now getting nominated.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll find out on Thursday. And by the way, we'll have live reactions right after the nominations. So be sure to come to our Gold Derby homepage, and then just story after story after story all day long, probably Friday as well. And we will get that prediction center up and running just as quick as we can on Thursday, probably early afternoon, hopefully. And so you can start making your predictions. But get in there now and make your nomination predictions, because you could win actual money. I mean, we've got not just first place, but you could, if you're in first place, second place, or third place, you could win an Amazon gift card, $500, $300, $200. Just for having the best score on nomination predictions. So you got a few days left. Make your changes if you've already done them. Make them for the first time. You get no extra points for having made them, a long time ago. If you get in there right now and make them, but look out for the odds too, because if you see somebody you feel really comfortable with and they've got 100-to-1 odds, for example, you can make extra points that way and maybe win the contest. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll be back next Thursday with reactions to the Emmy nominations.